there, welcome to my channel. My name is Linda. I've got some fun DIY home decor crafts coming your way. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started. Today we'll be working on some fall farmhouse home decor craft dupes. Now I went window shopping through Jenn, who is MotherThyme here on YouTube, her latest fall decorating video for some inspiration. I'll have the link down below for you. So let's get started with project number 1. Crazy place to get your inspiration, huh? For this project, this is the pillow that Jenn showed in her video, and we're going to remake it. Close, but not quite the same colors because I didn't have orange fabric. So you're going to start out with 2 pieces of fabric. This is 100% cotton. It's Waverly brand by at Walmart, and it's 17 by 17 inches. Nice square pillow for our main pillow. And then I do have a free printable for you on my blog. The link will be down below in my description box. Now this is just hand-drawn pumpkin, so it's not perfect, but I do put in there that how big the pumpkin should be. The PDF printable comes in 2 pages, and you'll probably have to resize it. So I kind of gave you the measurements there. And of course, you'll have to tape it together to get your full pumpkin before you cut that out for your pattern. I'm going to use this fabric from Hobby Lobby because I love the texture of it. It's kind of like a terry cloth or something. It's really cute. Now you can cut out 1 or 2 pieces for your pumpkin depending on how thick you want it. I'm going to cut 2, and then I'm going to use this twine you get from Dollar Tree because it looks like the twine in the original picture. If you're a gluer, Beacon Fabri-Tac, I'll use both. I'm going to use Fabri-Tac and sewing today. Go ahead and glue down your pumpkin, whether 1 or 2 pieces in the center of your pillow. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of glue my 2 pieces together, just a little bit of spot gluing here and there to help hold it together better when I go to take it to the sewing machine, because I want that little bit of stitching around it, kind of give it a country look. And this fabric, even though it kind of looks like terry cloth, it's really soft and kind of flexible. So this will help hold it together better. And then I'm going to see where I want this centered top, bottom, right to left on my 17 by 17 fabric here, right? And then I'll go ahead and glue it down again, spot gluing, and then I will take it to my sewing machine. Gluers, you're just sitting here waiting, because us sewers, if we want to sew it, we got to do our part before you can come back and join us. Once I get this glued on, I'm going to just take 1 piece only to the sewing machine. Don't take both pieces. Just take the piece that your pumpkin's glued onto. And I'm just coming in about a 1/2 inch with thread that pretty much closely matches the pumpkin. Because my first thought was, you'll see that thread sewing around the pumpkin, and then I was going to put that variegated twine around the edges of the pumpkin, but I end up changing that. I end up putting the variegated twine over the thread versus on the outside of the pumpkin, like on Jenn's original pumpkin pillow. So it really depends whether you're going to cover the thread or not, whether your thread matches your pumpkin color. All right, so we'll get the rest of this all sewn up here. Now I'm going to go ahead and leave my edges of my pillow out and frayed for a real farmhouse look. So I'm going to put both of my pieces together with my pumpkin outward. And if you're a gluer, a couple of ways to glue. Yeah, there's a couple of ways to glue. You're going to go ahead and glue 3 1/2 sides together toward the edge, just around that outside edge. Here comes our last side, about half of that, so you can stuff it and then you glue that closed. Or, here's the next way you glue it. If you have a pillow form, you're going to glue 3 sides together, right? Leaving 1 whole side open so you can get that pillow form in there, and then you can glue that 4th side down. All right, you didn't know there was 2 ways to glue, did you? If you're a sewer, I'm going to come in here. It's going to be the same exact way, whether you're going to stuff it or put a pillow form in it. So since I'm using the pillow form, I'm only going to oh my gosh, I'm only going to sew 3 sides down and then put that pillow form in the center. Now I actually went ahead and sewed around it twice just for decoration. You don't have to do that, but I did 2 stitching all the way around the edge. Then I'm going to put my form in there. And it fits just perfectly. This form is at Walmart. It's like 2 for $10, like 15, 16-inch forms, 2 for $10. And then I'm going to come back in and I'm going to double stitch that last open end twice to close my pillow up. So here's what that looks like all the way around, our little cute double stitching. And don't worry, we're going to fray those edges of the fabric a little bit more. Now I'm going to come in with the Beacon Fabri-Tac glue and our variegated twine, okay? First thing I'm going to do is the center. I want to do like a little oval, right? Like a pumpkin have, like a little oval section. And I'm going to take that twine and I'm going to press it into that little oval section. Okay, because I'm following kind of what it looked like on Jenn's pillow. And then I'm going to make sure as I come back around, I kind of cover that first piece there so you don't see the edge where it first starts. And I'm going to come around and do this twice because I know that my twine is a little bit thinner than the one on Jenn's pillow. And I thought twice would give it a little bit more of a decorative edge. So I'm going to come around twice right next to the first oval, side by side, all the way around. And I know with all my lights and stuff here, it doesn't look like it quite matches. The twine doesn't match the fabric, but it does in person. I'm going to cut that end off, and then I'm going to hide that end. Okay? And then what I'm going to do is come around, and to the right side, I'm hiding the cut end under the top right part of that oval. And then I'm going to come around again. Here's where I'm covering my thread. I'm going to cut that off as I come around and meet the bottom part of that oval, and I'm going to hide the edge underneath it. That's what is nice about thinner thread, because you can hide it without being too lumpy bumpy. And then I'm going to come in again on the inside of that first twine, and I'm going to do the same thing again and get a second layer of twine going all the way around. I really had to kind of study the photo, Jenn's photo, on like how they did the twine, and this is the best way I could come up with. Which is why part of the reason why I didn't go around the edge, because I also wanted to make it easier to show you how to get this on there. It just didn't quite work going around the edge to make all the wrapping around the pillow work quite right. Anyway, so now I'm coming around the left side, and I'm doing the exact same thing with the twine over here as I cut the edges, making sure I hide it under that center oval. And plus, I like how the twine kind of comes in a little bit. It's about a 1/2 inch inside the edge of the pillow. I just think it gives it a little something more of a decorative touch. So I actually kind of like the way this looks. We'll finish up this side, and then we'll go to work on our stem. Get that cut off and then glue underneath to hide the edges. Hide your edges. We're going to come up to the stem. Again, I'm going to start here on the left side, and I'm going to wrap it up and around my stem piece, making that kind of nice and squared off at the top. Perfect. And then I'm just going to come around and just kind of curve it back upward, and I'm going to take that little curve and hide that under the edge of that oval area, if that's understandable. Just kind of come right back up. You could cut it there, but the curve hides nicely. And then I'm going to come around again to the inside there and do the little secondary edging here. Now on Jenn's pumpkin, that whole stem was filled in, but I decided I didn't want that. I'm going to cut off the end and then hide it under that oval section. Now the twine is done for now. Now I'm going to come in, I'm going to fray the edges on the outside of my pillow. Remember I said we're going to fray them a little bit more. Just pull on those. This cotton fabric is really nice for just pulling and getting a frayed edge, pulling on threads around the edges and getting as much frayed edge as you want. And then it will continue to kind of fray and threads will hang off of it. You'll see it in the final looks. There's some threads hanging. I like that about it. That gives me that farmhouse kind of rustic look. All right, so I decided it just need a little something more, so I'm going to make a little bow out of that variegated twine to put at the bottom of that stem there, and I added a little bead from Dollar Tree at the end of each thing there, and then tie a little knot so the bead doesn't fall off, and make those little tails as long as you want, and then cut off the excess underneath that knot and kind of fray the edges. And then I'll go ahead and glue that bow on, and that makes this project complete. Let's move on to project number 2. Here is our inspiration from Jenn's video. Now the one with the leaf is actually double-sided. The other is not, but I've decided to make both of these double-sided. So I picked up the frames only at a thrift store for $1 a piece, and then I had my husband just cut out some wood that would fit both of these frames. Now I know the frames are both the same size, but it really still looks cute together. And these leaves I actually cut out using my XTool laser, but I know that Dollar Tree, I know Hobby Lobby, they all have wood leaves that you can buy. For the backside, I cut like a Christmas tree out. I know that, Dollar Tree, Hobby Lobby, there's Christmas tree wood shapes you can use and things like that. So let this just kind of serve as an inspiration, even though you don't have these exact wood pieces. I know you can buy these wood pieces in other craft stores. So to start off with, I'm going to paint one of these boards in a flat white paint, and then I'm going to paint the other one side orange and one side green. Okay, spray paint outside. And then outside, I went ahead and distressed both of these frames because I didn't want them to be as dark as they were. And so here are my boards. One side is orange, one side is green, and I'm going to tell you right now, I hate it. I did not like the way they came out. The white spray paint, for some reason, it's one I use all the time, looked blue to me. So now I'm going back in and I'm repainting them. So I'm using Debbie's Design Diary DIY chalk paint White Swan. I've got one side done, and here's the other side where it was spray painted before. And see the blue difference, or maybe it's a little more gray. I don't know what it is or what happened, but I don't think this paint was mixed very well. So I'm coming back in to repaint it because I hated it. I kept like, what is wrong with this? So, I'm going to make the creative decision to repaint it. And then on the other side, the orange, I'm going to use Dixie Belle chalk paint in the color Terracotta and repaint that. I'm going to my favorite orange chalk paint that I use every fall season. I should have just done it in the first place. But these spray paints, the color on the cap was like perfect, but it did not come out that color. It was way too bright. So this is what it looks like, much better. The green side, oh my gosh, I'm out, back up. Let's redo it. I don't necessarily love this color paint. It's like a sage color. I'm looking for a color that's more kind of close to that spray paint, but not as bright, not as bold. So if any of you have any suggestions of kind of that color, but like really toned down, please leave a comment for me as part of your, comment in the description box. I'd love to try out some new colors. So I repainted the green on the tree because I had spray painted that, and I repainted the star again, spray painted that, and then the little insides to the tree or to the leaves. And now I'm coming in with Waverly wax mixed with water, and I'm just going to stain the outline to the tree and then stain the leaves. And of course I will distress them so they come out a lot lighter in color. I don't want them this dark. I just kind of want them as a shadow, and I'll do that off camera. Now, for the larger sign, I have made a free printable for you. It's in my description box. One says Hello Fall, the other says Merry and Bright, so that you can flip the sign between fall and Christmas time. Okay, and I've cut them out in vinyl. You will have a PDF and a PNG, so if you want to take the PDF and some carbon paper and trace it and use some markers to do that, or the PNG if you want to take it to your cutting machine and clean it out and cut it out in vinyl, there you go. So I'm placing my pieces down at first. I haven't rubbed them onto my sign just so I can add a little splatter around it. Not a lot. I don't want to go all the way up and out a whole bunch, just slightly around it. So I'll show you that here since I'm a little behind on the voiceover. Just slightly around it, and then I'll take that middle piece off and then just add a little bit of splatter in the center, just so I knew where kind of my design was going to be. Dry that, and then I will go ahead and rub on my vinyl in the places they need to be in a second. I'm going to first take that same green paint that I did on the sign with the words and splatter it onto my tree so both look cohesive together. The two signs look cohesive. And I'm going to take that terracotta paint and splatter it, both mixed with water. Both paints are mixed with water, and splatter it onto the leaves so that the orange on the leaves will look cohesive with the orange on the other sign. And here's where you can see it a little bit better up close. So hope that's understandable. I'm going to take some glitter dust. I love this. It's a clear shimmer with a little bit of silver glitter in it. I get it off Etsy. I love, love, love this. I use it every fall and Christmas. I'll have a link down in the description box for you. And now I'm going to take my Beacon Fabri-Tac glue and I'm just going to put it right in the corner of my frame so I can add my wood pieces into my frames. I distressed around the wood a little bit, the painted wood, but not a whole lot. I'm pretty much keeping it pretty well all intact, which you guys know me, I usually distress everything a lot. But I thought the distressing of the frame and a little bit of distressing on the tree and the leaves was enough. All right, I'm going to add my green and orange piece into my other frame. And then once I do that, I'll go ahead and get my vinyl on each one, making sure the Merry and Bright goes on the green side, right? Obviously, and then of course making sure the Hello Fall will go on the orange side. Yeah, the signs Jen had, only the one with the leaf, it was kind of like a fall and Halloween reversible, but the other one wasn't. And I thought, well, I'm going to make them both reversibles. So, you know, thank you, Jen, for giving us your inspiration. All right, we're on the orange side here, and we'll get the Hello Fall on this one. I actually like how this came out. Even though Jen's picture, one frame was bigger than the other, I still think the way we're laying them, you know, one vertical and one horizontal, it looks really cute together. Get this off and make sure you get that rubbed on there and get that transfer sheet off. And then we'll go ahead and kind of get all our wood pieces glued together. So I'm going to glue the little stem onto both of the leaves. Now on the middle leaf, see, these are actually like 3 pieces. So it had the outline shape and then it had the leaf shape with the stem in the center when I cut them out. So on the smaller leaf, I'm using the stem, but the actual leaf shape, I'm going to glue that onto the back of our outline piece with the stem like this, so that I can lay it on the larger leaf and it will give me some elevation. So I'll show you that in a minute. And then I'm going to glue our tree and star onto our outline shape here. Get that into place. All right, so on the frames, one side is decorative and the other side is not. So what I want to do is make sure whatever side I'm on, whatever frame I'm using, it's opposite. So if on like the fall side, that one is decorated on the quote. So on the leaf side, I want to use the more plainer side of the frame, if that makes sense, to make it look like 2 different frames. So see, here's where my leaf, having that piece underneath elevated, I will elevate it off of that larger leaf. So I'll go ahead and glue that smaller leaf on, and then I'll glue that whole ensemble into the center of the board. So we have an elevated look. So if you want to do that with yours, you could use like some cardboard or anything like that and just glue the top leaf on top of the bottom. You might not want 2 leaves. You might only want 1 leaf. That is okay. Now we're on the flip side. So my Merry and Bright frame is more plain in design. So obviously I only have one side left to use, but the side my tree goes on is the more decorative side. And washi tape is just there to help me guide where I wanted my tree to go. I measured it out off camera. Once I place this tree, that makes this project complete. Let's move on to project number 3 and 4. For this project, this is our inspiration piece. I love the stand, and she added a cute little pumpkin in it. So we're going to start with the stand first. I'll kind of show you the supplies. I'm going to use 2 of these 7-inch diameter circles, one of these polygon shapes, all from Dollar Tree. These wood beads I picked up at Hobby Lobby at 40% off, so it only cost a couple of dollars. I found this glass closed top for $1 at a thrift store. I found this candle holder at a thrift store. I had my husband cut it to about a 4-inch height for me, and I'm going to use this pumpkin from Dollar Tree and this wool yarn from Walmart. I like this yarn because it's kind of braided looking. Now, first thing I'm going to do is just take all the stickers and stuff off of everything, and both of my signs had like a handle on it, but one I took off previously, so I'm just going to get the handle off of the other one, of course, and any staples and rope hangers or anything like that. And then off camera, I am going to sand all the paper off of both of these circle signs. And then I'm using my heat tool here now just to heat where that dowel goes into that polygon shape, heat that glue up, and then I can just kind of twist and wiggle it back and forth, and that dowel should just pop out nicely here, just like that. Now, my intention is to use that polygon shape in between the 2 circles to give us about an inch opening all the way around, because my beads should fit perfectly all the way around that area. I'm going to use Beacon Quick Grip Glue here to glue the polygon shape to the other circle. That glue really is quick. It does work nicely. You can see where my circle's all sanded, the paper sanded off. And I'm just seeing how many beads it's going to fit around this. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut off about 4 beads past that. Take those 4 beads off to give me some rope room here. And then literally I'm just going to end up taking this rope and tying it around our tray. And we'll do that in just a minute. First thing I want to do is just take some Waverly Antique Wax. I have a separate bottle here, an old bottle of the wax I pour water into so it's nice and watery, so it acts like a stain. Stain that little part of my candle holder, and then I'm taking a bag that I'm pouring Waverly Wax into and adding my beads into that so that I can stain them as well, and kind of squishing my beads in that Waverly Antique Wax mixed with water. Here I pour some into the bag, throw some beads in as I chase them around the table, squish them around, and then pull them out and put them into a, napkin there and let them dry. And then I'm going to go ahead and take that same stain, and I'm going to paint the top and bottom of my circles, and in between just a little bit, in case you see a little bit of that, but I don't really see any of it. Once I get the beads around it, I don't see it, but just in case, I'm just painting around the inside just a tad bit. Make it look nice. Now, I know because of these circles, it's a little bit darker of like that MDF wood versus the beads in the holder, but it still looks all okay together, because a lot of times when you stain things right, there is variation in color, so it does look okay. And then once everything is dry, I will sand it off camera. So here my holder is sanded, my circle is sanded, believe it or not, my beads are sanded here, and now here's where I'm going to bring it around and tie it, and I'm making sure that I pull really tight up on its end, kind of trying to hold those twine pieces in together as I make a knot, pulling it tight, just pulling really tight so those beads get really tight together. Just making sure, see, I didn't get it tied I can't even say it. I didn't get it tied quite tight enough, so I used my tweezers to pull it back out. Once I got it tight to where I wanted it, I'm going to go ahead, cut off the ends of that twine, and I'm going to glue that twine in between those 2 beads in together, and then just twist my beads around so that knot's on the other side. Just like that. Now you can't even see where we tied it in a knot, right? Looks nice. Now you could, if you want, take some glue. This is pretty tight on it. As I shake this back and forth, those beads aren't moving. But if you wanted to, you could take some glue and kind of maybe glue your beads to the board, but I didn't see any reason for it. They're not moving, so I'm going to leave it. Now what I'm going to do is take that Beacon Quick Grip glue again and glue my candle holder to the bottom of my base. I've centered it off camera, drew a circle where I need to glue it, let that set up, and now we're going to work on our pumpkin. My stem is a little too long to fit underneath that glass close, so I'm going to go ahead and cut part of that off, right? And I'm going to take the stem out. We will reuse it, and I'm going to take my craft knife here and just kind of pull a little bit of the top and bottom off, Just kind of get it started. And then I'm going to take one of those spatulas you can get from Dollar Tree, and about an inch wide, I'm going to go ahead and get that styrofoam out through the complete center of that pumpkin. And as I did that, some of this coating came off perfectly. I'm just going to peel it the rest of the way off, and I don't have to worry about, my yarn covering it really good so any of that color peeks through. And this is what that looks like. And yes, I have a Band-Aid on my finger because when I took that craft knife, I reached out and it pulled it back and it cut my finger. Please be careful with your craft knives. All right, so now I'm going to take some of that yarn. I just took a little bit at a time, cut like a nice long chunk off. You're going to have to do, 4 or 5 chunks probably. I'm going to start adding some glue first in the center of that pumpkin and wrap my yarn through where I added glue in between the sections of that styrofoam, and then take the rest of that yarn and poke it through. And then I'm going to come through on the other side. I've added some glue in between the sections. Poke that yarn through. I'm basically wrapping the yarn through the pumpkin. What's an easier way to say that? And I'm going to just work at one section at a time, pulling that yarn through around the outside of the pumpkin, pulling that yarn through the center. Now, as I pull it through the center, I want to pull it really, really tight because we got a lot of yarn to get through that center. But as I come to the outside, I'm not pulling it as tight, if that's understandable. We want to make that yarn thinner in the center so we have room for all that yarn coming in and through the center of that pumpkin, right? Okay, and I'm just kind of doing the outer edges of each side of that section so that when I am done, I kind of end up in the middle of that section. Okay, that way I can have a little piece that kind of sticks out on top. If you see that there, both of those sections from the outside kind of come to a point to the inside of that section. And then I'm going to complete this process all the way around. So this is how my pumpkin looks like when it's done. I just like how there's like an elevated center yarn in the center of each pumpkin segment, if that's understandable. And then for the bottom, I just took some pieces of yarn and just kind of filled it in and glued it in there just to make it look finished off. Now I'm going to go ahead and glue that center stem back into the pumpkin. And then I'm going to wrap some twine around it. I'm starting on the outside. We've done this before on pumpkins, but I'm starting around the outside of the actual stem. And then kind of winding its way forward and up toward the center of the stem, all the way up through the top of the stem. And by coming around the outside of that stem first, it really helps cover how that pumpkin stem kind of comes out in a point around the edges of it, if you know what I'm talking about. So here I am just kind of wrapping that twine around, gluing as I'm going, coming more in toward the stem, and then I'll wrap its way all the way up to the tip top till I reach the center of that stem, and I cover the whole thing with twine. And I think just doing it this way too gives it a little bit of more of a decorative kind of finished off look. And of course, by any means, or how do I want to say that? I cannot talk today and get my thoughts together. Of course, you do not have to do it this way. You can just leave the stem like it was. I did think about it for a moment. You could repaint it however you want it. You don't have to wrap twine around it. I just thought kind of the look of the twine and that, thread look kind of matched how the yarn looked a little bit. So I kind of thought it looked all cohesive together. So I'm just kind of coming to the very tip top of that, glued it off, and then here's what that looks like. Now I'm going to decorate a little bit using a little Excelsior, and then I've got a cute orange plaid trim I think I got from Joann's, and then this other little dot trim I got from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to go ahead and glue that little Excelsior on it first. We're not going to put that much on this pumpkin. I know it's going to be weird, but we're going to leave it kind of more simple. I'm going to go ahead and glue that bow on. And then I am using this felt pumpkin that came off of a beaded garland from Dollar Tree. Now you could use the side with the blessed on it if you have one of these. I'm going to use the other side and use this cute iron-on vinyl quote that I made, and yes, I will have some free printables for you. I made 2 for you. This first one is smaller. They're about 2-inch in size. The link will be in my description box to my blog, and you can just print these out onto cardstock. If you don't have electronic cutting machine, these will be offered in PDF and PNG form. So if you have an electronic cutting machine, you can take the PNG and take it to your program and clean it out. And then this bigger one is about 2.5 inch in size. If you don't like either of these, I'm going to bring back this one that I created last year. I'll have a link on my blog as well. This is only in PDF format if you want them just a little bit more simple in design, all right? So I've got that iron on to my little pumpkin. I'm going to use this rusty little safety pin, and I'm going to hang that pumpkin to our last little bow here, and we're going to glue that onto our bigger bow. And then I've got a little rusty bell I'm going to glue on there, and then this is what our cute little pumpkin looks like. It kind of simulates the little white pumpkin Jen had on her tray, but you know, we elevated it just a bit. So we'll put it on our tray, we'll put our glass lid on top, and that makes both of these projects complete. So I hope you enjoyed all the projects we made today. Please give this video a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below and let me know which project do you want to make for this fall season right now. Thanks, Jen, for giving us inspiration from your video that we could dupe and make our own cute DIYs. Everyone, I will have a link down to her video in the description box if you want to go and check it out. If you walked in here for the first time, you're just checking things out and you're digging what you saw, make sure before you click off you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out on another project from me. Before I go, I'm going to leave you with one final thought. In the Bible, the book of Joshua shares the story of how God would fulfill his promise to his people by leading them in victorious battle if they would just trust him and obey as he showed them the path to the land flowing with milk and honey. In chapters 3 and 4, God leads them through the river Jordan to get to that promised land. When Joshua and the Israelites set out to cross the Jordan, they stopped and camped before crossing over. When it was time to cross, they were given orders that when they saw the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord and the Leviticus priests carrying it, then they were to move out and follow it. They were told that they would know which way to go because the Lord was leading them since they had never been this way before. It's the same scenario with God in your own life today. No matter what circumstance you may be facing, you do not need to worry about how you will get there, because the Lord your God will always lead you and guide you in the way you should go. He will never leave you alone to try and decipher it for yourself. So back to Joshua chapter 4, once the whole nation had crossed the Jordan River with the help of God by their side, he instructed Joshua to choose one man from each of the 12 tribes of Israel to go into the middle of the river of Jordan, where the priests were still holding the Ark of the Covenant, and find a stone and build an altar on the land they had just crossed over to. God wanted this generation to build a tower of remembrance of what had happened so they would always remember that God guided them and led them through. And when generations that followed saw this altar and asked what it stood for, they would be told about how God had done something incredible for his people. That altar still stands today as a reminder that God did do something incredible then, and he will continue to do something incredible even now. With what you might be facing in your life today, you probably need a reminder. You probably need to take a moment and build that tower of remembrance. If your hope feels small, remembering how God has worked in your life before will give you the strength you need and help increase your faith to get you through this moment now. You need to remember that he has answered your prayers in the past, and he will do it again. God will guide you through your circumstances as you cross the river to get to the other side to find your rest and healing. Allow God to change your thoughts to a hope and a purpose that he has for you by remembering his grace in the past. Devote yourself to trusting him and what he will do for you. It's not what he can do, but what he will do for you as you have the faith to continue to believe in him. All he wants from you is your choice to follow him and obey the plan he has for you as you allow him to lead you. So live in that victory that he wants for you today. Lean into the fact that God won't let you go through this alone. Look forward to the victory ahead that God has for you. Stand before God and expect great things. I thank you for sharing your time with me, and I'll talk with you again soon. Bye.